Good morning, guys. Are you ready for the transformation of a century? Oh, cool. You can't even see. Well, no, you're lucky. Consider yourself lucky. I got the sweater, garishly colored shirt, shorts, leggings, socks. This is what I slept in. And I'll show you what I will be awake in. Whoop-pow. I should get one of those spinny pedestal things. We've got the shirt, the jeans. Yeah, okay, yeah, I look like somebody's mother. But if you squint and imagine awesome hair, awesome makeup, awesome jewelry, I look like I own a crystal shop. And that is always what I'm trying to do. Maybe if I actually owned a belt, I should get a cool belt. Maybe that'll help. I need to get accessories, bro. I'm thinking I need jewelry. I need a belt. But I don't want to go on Amazon and get some piece of crap they made in a sweatshop. Trying to not look like someone's mom is a newer struggle for me. Usually, it's more so trying to give crystal shop owner Stevie Nicks-esque situation and not religious cult. I grew up around what could be argued to be people in religious cults. Was I in a religious cult? Not really. Was I around people who were? Yes. I am very well acquainted with the long hair, the long skirts, because in case it wasn't already abundantly clear, I was homeschooled. I only hung out with the other homeschoolers. We got that homeschooler thing going on about us. And so now, to be an adult, trying to not seem so homeschooled, even though you can tell. I know everyone can tell, they can tell. But I feel like in a way I've got a good bit of insight. I've got a good eye to know when I'm looking to homeschooler and not enough Stevie Nicks. Do you know what I'm saying? And I've found, I think that the big thing is jewelry, accessories, honestly just the way you carry yourself, if I'm honest. Not that I do a great job of employing any of those things appropriately, but I got to a point where I was like, whatever, this is how I dress. And also, if you do think that I look like I'm actively in a religious cult, talk to me and you'll realize that that is not the case. However, like I said, this new thing that is coming up is when I don't feel like wearing my long, flowy Stevie Nicks skirts and I want to put on a pair of jeans and I wear my little cardigans, my little blouses or whatever, I look like somebody's mother. And I do think it's mostly due to the way I'm built. If I were a little lady, I do think it would be different, but I am not. So learning how to work with what I've got to try to present in the way I would like to. That's a whole thing. I thrift pretty much exclusively, and I like doing that. I like the secondhand, I like the thrifting, I enjoy that most of all. But in the dead of winter, in the middle of nowhere, it makes it difficult to do that. And then yeah, like what I put on today, and I look in the mirror, I'm like, whoa, somebody's mom alert. Not that there's anything wrong with that. If I have to look like somebody's mom, I want to be like somebody's mom with a little pizzazz. Okay, I think a big thing with like fashion and trying to get a particular physical appearance that you want, or you just want to present it in a particular way. And I feel like people have talked about this. Like you go on Pinterest, you see these outfits, people asking where to get things. Everyone wants to know what website they can go to just go order something and kind of fulfill the quota of the particular thing they're looking for. When I feel like when you're trying to compile a wardrobe, in my personal experience, my wardrobe and things like that have really been shaped by just things I come across in the wild and being like, maybe I should try this. Something that I find whenever I'm thrifting a lot of the time, I'm like, if I put this on, do I look like somebody's grandmother? But hey, I keep talking about this. The more I'm talking about this, I'm finding being afraid of looking like a mother or a grandmother is related to a fear of, well, aging for one, I guess, and a fear of being perceived as not desirable, I guess. But really, I don't think about that. Like when I'm getting dressed, I'm not really trying to like appeal. Like I'm trying to appeal to the little girls who come up to me and they're like, you look like Princess Anna. And I'm like, oh my god, you are the sweetest thing in the world. That is what I'm seeking. So if I look like a mother or a grandmother, you know what? That doesn't even really matter. I don't want to look like I live in a religious cult though. So as I was saying with the fashion thing, I think it's a lot less so about like going to Shein or whatever, all the different places, Amazon or like the I don't even know what they're called because I don't shop on them. And I'm not shaming people who do that, but I think in forming a personal style, it's a lot more finding what you can in alternative places and then kind of putting something together with that. So I was like, I don't have any belts, bro, or I don't have like an accessory. But then I was like, dude, my curtains that I just got, which I thrifted, they come with these little whatever to hold them open, but you have to like secure it to the wall with like a nail or a screw or something. And I am not about to put a hole in my wall, so I'm not going to use these. But it's like this purple whatever thing, and it's got these little beads. I was looking at it, I'm like, well, I tried to do it for a belt, but it's a little too short for me to work as a belt, and it looks a little too weird. But I could use this as like a headscarf or something. And it's not because I went on Amazon and was like, okay, I need to find a headscarf with this particular keywords for this particular aesthetic that I'm looking for, which I've tried to do, and it only comes up with cheap crap. People trying to profit off of people's interests, you know? I mean, I guess that makes sense, but also it's cheap. It's no good. And we're just gonna buy all of this stuff and it's gonna end up in a landfill. Use whatever you have. So, like, I thrifted curtains and I got this little curtain sash. I can employ this, and I think I'm gonna try to. Of course, I did was like first up and I tried to employ it as a belt, and that didn't work. And I was like, okay, never mind. This was a stupid idea. But then I kept thinking about it. That's I think what I'm going to try. So the question is, do I try to put anything on my face? I think I will. So in terms of trying to not look homeschooled / in a religious cult / whatever, and wanting to look more like what I was saying, like crystal drop motor students, blah blah blah. You get the idea. I do think it comes down to the accessories. It comes down to doing just things that maybe are not like what you would immediately think to do. Because I think specifically with like what I would think about, like I'm wearing these long skirts. They're like modest, but I'm not trying to be modest. It's just because I like the way things flow or whatever. I think that's cool. So I think the way to avoid looking so plain is to not be plain, dress it up. And I feel like I see a lot of fashion people talk about that, like really an outfit has to do with your accessories. And if you employ that kind of thing, then it will help build an outfit from just like something more basic. So that's something that I need to keep in mind more, because when I do go out, go thrifting or whatever, I'm usually looking for blouses or skirts or something like that. I don't tend to look so much for the jewelry and things. I do get scarves, which I wear sometimes, and I have tried to do like wearing scarves as belts, but the scarves that I would use were like stretchy kinds, and then they would get all stretched out, which is not maybe the best way to do it. But I actually have a purple scarf that like matches this perfectly. I want to get more rings, but like I said, I don't want to go on Amazon and order rings. I want to find them in a different place, but I never think about it when I'm actually in a thrift store or at a yard sale or something like that. So I just need to keep that in mind. But it is kind of lame and sad because it is the middle of winter and I live in the middle of nowhere. So these are just things I have to keep in mind for the future. But for people who live in a more populated place, hear my words. But I guess, I don't know, maybe I will talk more about that, like what I was thinking, what I'm realizing about what I'm saying. I had someone explain to me at some point about the idea of the maiden, the mother, and the crone. Basically, the different stages of a woman. Personally, when I first heard that, I'm like, reject. I do not care to hear that because it obviously is very limiting, very much trying to put a person in distinct categories, which is not fair for one, and also not completely accurate. But the idea of the maiden, mother, and crone is you start out a maiden, you're beautiful, you use your beauty, you're trying to find a mate. Once you find a mate, and then you have babies, then you're a mother. So you don't have your beauty so much, you're more about imparting this wisdom. And by the time you're a crone, you've lost all of your beauty, but you're full of wisdom. And I don't know, I spend a lot of time thinking about these ideas, about like thinking about the maiden mother crone thing, thinking about the Madonna whore complex, like how a woman can either be perceived as this sexless / virginal / motherly figure, or this hypersexual being that's like not really anything except that. And I guess it's specifically, I think, more so relating to men who had experienced this, but I think as a culture, as a society, it's very easy to do that. And I think that's a lot more cemented in the culture than we might think. So the thing is with that is that there aren't just those two extremes. It's a lot more nuanced. It allows for a lot more than just these categorizations. I remember like when Halsey put out her album, If I Can't Have Love, I Want Power. The album art is her with her baby and her bare breast out. I think it was very much making a point of rejecting the idea of the Madonna whore complex and being like, once you are a mother, that doesn't necessarily make you sexless or undesirable. Like that kind of idea, you can be more than one thing. There's very often, I guess, an idea what a maiden is, what a mother is. So when I'm talking about this and I'm so afraid of looking like a mother or looking like a grandmother or something like that, it's kind of that Madonna whore complex ingrained in my own brain, I think. I don't know. If you have any thoughts on this, I would love to hear what you think. I find it very interesting, very sometimes sad or upsetting, but I think if we talk about things and we spend time trying to understand, then there's learning through that effort. So I think it is important to think. I think it is it is very important to think, and I want to definitely encourage that. And it takes being wrong a lot of times in order to learn something, and I think you have to be okay with the fact that you're going to say stuff and maybe you say things wrong and then you realize you're wrong and then you're like, wow, I look like an idiot. And instead of being embarrassed about that, seeing that, taking that, learning from that, it's just something to think about, to think if that's something you're overlooking, the fact that it's happening. I don't know, with thinking about expression and like having a style and being concerned with that, like my concern with that, people could look at that and be like, well, yeah, it's because you're a maiden and you're trying to work with your beauty to appeal to a man. Um, I think not. Like I already said, that is definitely not what I'm keeping in mind. Okay, guys, sorry I look extremely busted right now. My mic died while I was making the video and I never actually finished what I was talking about. Basically, yeah, I did put this in my hair. I feel like as I've continued to make this video, it kind of has like two different points to it. The main thing that it seemed to be about, how to get crystal shop owner, not religious cult member. There's that, and basically I already said it's how you carry yourself, accessorize, give yourself a little swag like that. And then when I was talking all about the maiden mother crone, the Madonna whore complex, all of that kind of thing, and what I didn't really talk about so much specifically in this video, but I did talk about in a different video, my chatty get ready with me with like bulk and everything. My personal guideline presently in my life is expression, not performance. I think if you get too focused, I kind of am going against exactly what I'm saying in this whole video, is that when you get too concerned in the performance, then you're taking away from your natural expression. And I think for me, expression is paramount, at least in this point in time, because it is not something I've leaned into enough. And you know what? Now that I'm thinking of it, I think not wearing a long skirt because I'm afraid I'm going to look like a homeschooler or a cult member. That fear of how I'm going to be perceived is me focusing too much on the performance. And so I think it's more about putting on whatever it is you want to wear and not caring whether someone thinks you're a crystal shop owner or you're a cult member. I don't know. That's another point that could be taken away from this video. But with most things about the way I think and the way I feel, it all contradicts each other and it goes in a million different places and there's a million tangents and branching off of all of these ideas, and it's a whole web of thoughts and feelings, some of it connecting, some of it not. And I know for me, I think that's just how it works, just reasoning. And so I do have a point, and I do have a couple of points. And you know what? I think that's all right, because this video is not necessarily a video essay. It's just me yapping about the things I'm thinking about. So I'm gonna go out and I'm going to wear a curtain sash in my hair. And I'm gonna feel great about it. Thank you so much for watching / listening / whatever. If you did, I appreciate it. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Please. I'd love to know. Bye-bye.